Chapter 7 discusses the role of traditional leadership in both the national and local governments. You will note that the institution of traditional leadership has undergone changes from the pre-union era to the current democratic era. Pay attention to the changes that took place during these periods. The Constitution recognizes traditional leadership and its role in the current democratic dispensation. Read sections 211 and 212 in this regard. It is important to note that the institution of traditional leadership is also subject to the provisions of the Bill of Rights. Read the case of Shilubane versus Namibia in this regard, where the institution of traditional leadership was discussed in relation to gender discrimination. The role of traditional leaders is defined in the Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act. This act also aligns traditional leadership with constitutional imperatives and restores its integrity and legitimacy in line with customary law and practice. Roles and functions of traditional leaders include performing functions provided for in terms of customary law and customs of a community, and developing objectives of government as provided in the Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act. Because traditional leadership operates within the context of traditional communities are also defined in the Act. Traditional communities are recognized by the Premier of the province after consultation with the House of Traditional Leaders. Traditional communities can be classified into 3 levels, namely traditional communities, principal traditional communities, and kingship or queenship traditional communities. Each community is represented by a council which is established in terms of Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act. Traditional leaders are part of the council. The traditional councils work in partnership with organs of government to, among other things, promote development in their respective communities. The Act recognizes 4 traditional leadership positions. These are kingship or queenship, principal traditional leadership, senior traditional leadership, and headmanship. Read carefully how traditional leaders are appointed into these offices. Note especially government's involvement in the appointment of these leaders. Provision is also made for regents, acting traditional leaders, and deputy traditional leaders. All these ranks of traditional leadership are explained in the Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act and discussed in great detail in this chapter. Houses of traditional leaders are established at a national, provincial, and local level. These houses are established in terms of Section 212, subsection 2 of the Constitution. Their function is to deal with matters relating to traditional leadership, customary law, and customs observed by various communities.